The city of Baltimore has dropped dozens of drug-related cases after it was revealed that one cop was caught through his body cam footage planting drugs as evidence with one defendant. Now, it turns out that there is another video showing different cops in what appears to be a case where they are again planting drugs. Now, in this case, it has to do with a vehicle that was stopped. After cops pulled this individual over, they searched the car and they didn't find any drugs. Then they turned off their body cam, turned it back on, searched in the exact same area of the car, and then miraculously found drugs. As a result, the case against that defendant has been dropped. Her name is Shamir Collins. But I do want to show you guys the video so you can kind of judge for yourselves. And then I'll tell you how the police commissioner is sticking up for these cops, which is unbelievable. So let's look at the first video. This is where they're searching the car and it seems like they're having a hard time finding anything.
Okay, we got nothing so far.
Okay, so at that point, they turn off the body cam, and then here is the second video.
No. Did anybody check this compartment? Oh, I knew it. That's why they were freaking out.
That's the weed smell right there.
That's why they were freaking out.
Oh, these are like little fives.
Okay, so here's my favorite parts of that. It's a terrible story, but the way they did it was almost amusing. They're like, oh, we couldn't find anything. Turn off the body cam. So they turn off the body camera, and then they plant it. And then I like how they're like, just standing around and goes, oh, did anybody check this part?
And he finds it immediately.
And he's like, oh, there it is. No, we were right all along.
Come on, man. What, you guys are wearing body cams. But here's the thing, I think some cops, not all, some cops are emboldened by the fact that a lot of police officers get away with a lot of really bad things.
Of course.
So like, oh, I'm wearing a body cam. Who cares if I'm wearing a body cam? It's not like I'm gonna face any consequences if I get caught or if anyone suspects that I'm planting this evidence. So look, here's the thing. Because of the two separate cases that we've told you about on this show, these cops have been involved in a bunch of other cases, and any other case that they've been involved in has to be dropped because the credibility of these police officers is now up in the air. And just to give you a more broad perspective of what's going on in Baltimore, last summer, the US Department of Justice issued a scathing report in which investigators said the police department engaged in widespread discriminatory and unconstitutional policing practices, particularly in poor, predominantly black neighborhoods. The city and the Justice Department later entered into a consent decree that mandates reforms and is in its early stages. Now, look, the planting of drugs is horrible, but to make matters worse, the police commissioner is completely defending these actions, which is frustrating to say the least. He had a press conference just yesterday where he addressed these videos, and here's what he had to say. His name is Kevin Davis. In both of these cases, it's no doubt that drugs were discovered and the recovery of those drugs were captured on body-worn cameras. There's no doubt that took place in either case. There's no doubt that probable cause existed for arrest. He's claiming that they need to do an investigation to figure out whether or not the cops were just simply reenacting them finding the drug. So
yeah, sure, that's what was happening.
So he's making an argument that maybe they forgot to turn on their body cameras and then they discovered the drugs with the cameras off, and then they're like, oh wait, we want to make sure we catch this on camera, so let's reenact it.
Except we have video of them before they found any drugs with the body cameras on, so they had to actively turn it off. Okay, these are the most nonsense excuses you'll ever hear. So look, let me give you a perspective you might not. If you're a progressive, you might not know this perspective. And if you're a conservative, I hear you, I was you, okay? So let me just explain for folks. I grew up in a nice suburb. I was super lucky, and we generally didn't have problems with the cops, and we thought the cops were there to protect us. So I grew up thinking that cops don't lie, and there's a huge, and if you're progressive and you're black or you're poor, you might find that laughable, right? But there's a huge chunk of the country who thinks and was raised to believe cops don't lie and cops don't make up stuff. And why would a cop plant drugs? I remember having an argument with Steve-O now like 30 years ago, and he told a story about how his friends had drugs planted on. I'm like, why would the cops do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would they want to get into trouble? And yeah, no, you got to trust the cops until you find out the evidence. Now, it's not to say that all cops are bad. They're all planting drugs, of course not. But by the way, if you have cops who are doing this, you should weed them out. Sorry for the pun. Okay, and get them off the force. Otherwise, you all lose credibility. And yes, if you've been taught to believe that cops never lie, wakey, wakey.
Right.
Of course they lie sometimes. Some of the cops do lie some of the times. That's why we have a justice system, and we don't just trust them.
Exactly, and just to again make a broader point about what's going on in Baltimore, police have sustained 14 administrative misconduct cases against officers based on body cam footage. And that's according to Davis, the guy who wants to protect these cops. One officer was indicted on criminal assault charges based on body camera footage. So look, body cams are working to some extent, and I guess that's a good thing, finally. There have been some consequences for cops who are behaving poorly and not doing their jobs in a responsible way. But just to go back to your point about how some cops do lie, a story that we didn't get to today was about a San Diego police officer who gave a citation to a man that he was accusing of sleeping in the bed of his truck, which is illegal, right? His body cam footage showed that he actually just came up to the guy as he was walking out of a public restroom.
He was just completely lying about it. And so if you're wondering why, generally laziness. And some places have quotas and you gotta make a number of arrests. And so well, if I don't have something you're guilty of, I gotta make sure that I don't get in trouble down at headquarters, so I'm gonna arrest some people anyway. And who am I gonna arrest? The powerless, so they don't mess with me. If I arrest the powerful, then I'm gonna have consequences, especially if I'm lying or planting drugs on them. And a lot of the powerless, whether they're poor, African American, or even middle class now, a lot of folks can't afford lawyers, can't afford to fight back. Those are the guys you pick on, right? And that's how it happens. If you like this video, you probably like independent media. The best way to support independent media, become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.